Discover the incredible Trumpet Duel, how a millionaire musician's challenge to a simple girl revived a town. In a little Midwestern town, a storm was brewing, one that could echo through the ages. Clara, a 17-year-old waitress, squeezed lemon into cups and served sizzling pancakes at the local diner. But every night, when the diner closed and the hum of the town quieted, she took to her father's garage and poured her soul into the trumpet her grandfather left her. It was an old instrument, tarnished yet cherished, carrying the weight of memories from World War II. Clara imagined the world beyond her small town, a world where dreams could become something real. She envisioned herself at a prestigious music school, her family free from financial burdens. Yet as she practiced under flickering bulbs, those dreams felt as unreachable as the stars above. Across the country lived Jake, a prodigious trumpet player, heir to a wealthy family. With every accolade he received, an emptiness grew inside him. Jake was suffocated by expectations and privilege, trapped in a polished cage of fame. People saw the glimmer of his last name, not the struggle of living up to it. When he caught wind of a local talent competition offering a chance to launch a career, something shifted within him. He issued a challenge, a duel on stage, against anyone bold enough to face him. Victory meant fame, defeat meant a hefty donation to charity. For Clara, this duel wasn't merely a competition, it embodied a chance to ignite hope in her struggling community and honor her grandfather's legacy. The news spread like wildfire. Families rallied, hanging banners, sharing stories of her music, sparking joy and resilience during hard times. Conversations at the diner buzzed with excitement and a hint of skepticism. Could a simple girl filled with grit and passion outshine a polished millionaire? As Clara practiced, each note heavy with meaning, Jake began to learn more about her. Her fire, her struggle, made him question his own journey. Could real talent rise from hardship, or was it forever destined to be overshadowed by wealth? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the duel loomed closer, tension crackled in the air. Clara stepped onto the stage, her heart racing like a runaway freight train. She held her grandfather's trumpet with both hands, believing it was not just metal but a bridge to her community's dreams. Jake, despite standing tall, felt the hollow ache of expectation deep in his chest. The crowd was alive, filled with anxious murmurs and eager faces, ready to witness the clash of privilege against persistence. Just as Clara was about to unleash a soulful melody from the depths of her struggles, the lights dimmed for a moment of suspense. Secrets began to surface, and vulnerability seeped through Jake's polished facade. Would this be a night of revelation? A battle of sheer talent, or the unlocking of truths that could change everything? As the audience held its breath, the stage transformed into a battleground, where each note would tug at the heartstrings, challenging what it truly meant to succeed and connect. Clara took a deep breath, her fingers trembling on the cool brass of the trumpet. The spotlight enveloped her, casting a warm glow amid the sea of anxious faces. Friends, family, and strangers all awaited the moment she would pour her heart into the music. The anticipation in the air was thick. She could almost taste it. Then the spotlight shifted to Jake, who stood poised on the opposite side of the stage. He exuded confidence, a polished demeanor that cloaked the truth swirling inside him. A million expectations weighed heavily on his shoulders, yet a flicker of respect for Clara stirred within him. She was no ordinary opponent, she represented something pure, something that had the power to shatter his gilded cage. As the announcer raised his hand, signaling the beginning of the duel, Clara closed her eyes for just a second. With the world fading away, what resonated in her soul was not just the music but the stories, a melody of her town's struggles, dreams, and triumphs. She envisioned her family sitting in the audience, their faces lit with hope.
She imagined every small dreamer who had ever doubted their worth. The first notes rang out, clear and unwavering. Clara's trumpet sang, weaving a tale deep with emotion, pulling at the listener's heartstrings. A hush fell over the crowd, each note wrapping around them like the warm embrace of a summer's evening. Clara played with everything she had, her spirit erupting in each rising note. Then it was Jake's turn. He positioned himself, nervous energy churning within. As he took a breath, ready to unleash a flood of virtuosity, he couldn't help but notice Clara's fervor, her rawness that felt more like freedom than competition. When he finally played, the notes soared, practically dancing under the spotlight. They were impeccable, polished to perfection, yet somehow, they lacked the soul Clara had just delivered. The audience was enraptured, swept away by the duality of their styles. Clara's music echoed the laughter and tears of her little town, while Jake's notes were a snapshot of his life, filled with luxury and pressure. The crowd responded to both, but Clara's sound tugged at something deeper, a longing that all could resonate with. On the sidelines, Clara's family wasn't just listening, they were feeling. Tears of joy and pride slid down her mother's cheek. Her father gripped the edge of his seat, heart pounding, caught between hope and disbelief. Meanwhile, Jake's parents watched with a mixture of pride and concern, unsure if their son felt the weight of the moment, or if he still saw this as just another competition. As the final notes rang, the stage held its breath. Clara finished with a flourish and held the last note, letting it linger, quivering in the air, while Jake's finale burst forth with bright energy. The crowd erupted, voices blending into a chaotic symphony of applause and cheers. This moment belonged to them both. Yet even amidst the celebration, a cloud of uncertainty loomed over Jake. He turned to Clara, his heart racing not just from the thrill of the duel, but from the raw truth he had felt in her performance. Was success just about talent, or about something more profound? And Clara, with her eyes wide and heart hopeful, had no idea the storm she had unleashed within him. As the crowd called for a winner, the question hung in the air like an unfinished melody: what would happen next for them both? Would Jake choose to confront his fears and embrace a new path? Would Clara's dream finally take flight or be lost in the echoes of ambition and rivalry? The atmosphere crackled with possibilities, the night far from over. The applause thundered in Clara's ears, but she felt strangely detached, as if she were existing outside of her own body. She looked out at the audience, their faces blurred by the intensity of the moment. They had witnessed something special, there was no doubt. But her heart raced for a different reason. As Jake's eyes met hers, a flicker of understanding passed between them. This was more than just music. It was a call to redefine their paths, challenge their lives. Jake stood still, the bright lights casting shadows over his face. He suddenly felt small, dwarfed by the choice he now faced. The adrenaline faded, replaced by a wariness that gnawed at his insides. Both victories and losses had their roles, but that night, the idea of winning felt more like a shackle than a triumph. What if he embraced this connection instead of simply competing? It was a notion as terrifying as it was exhilarating. Wow, right? Caleb, Jake's best friend, fumbled for words beside him, grinning with infectious enthusiasm. Clara blew the roof off the place. And you man, damn, you played great too. Yeah. Jake managed, his mind still on Clara. But did you feel what she felt? Caleb blinked, confused. What do you mean? She plays like she lives, you know. Not just notes, but something real. Meanwhile, Clara was cresting a wave of mixed emotions. Her heart was buoyant with triumph, yet a twinge of nervousness swirled within her. She had fought hard for this moment, but now that it was upon her, a heavy layer of uncertainty weighed down on her spirit. In the past, competition had felt like an isolated tunnel, now it opened into a vast landscape of friendship, rivalry, and unknown possibilities. As she scanned the crowd, her gaze fell on her family. Her mother beamed, proudly dabbing at her eyes with a tissue while her father sat stone-faced,
a million emotions battling behind his stoic demeanor. Clara realized the stakes felt different for them too. This wasn't just her win, it was for everyone who had supported her on this path. The town, her friends, she had fought for them as much as for herself. Clara. A familiar voice broke through her thoughts. It was Sarah, her childhood friend. You were amazing. I mean, absolutely incredible. Thanks. Clara beamed, but the joy was laced with uncertainty. Did you hear how Jake played? It was incredible too. But what does it all mean? Sarah paused, meeting Clara's eyes with a knowing look. Does it matter? You followed your heart. That's all that really matters. The stage announcer stepped forward, raising his voice above the raucous applause. Ladies and gentlemen, if I may have your attention. The judges have come to a decision. The crowd quieted, anticipation thick in the air like smoke from a roaring fire. Clara's heart thumped harder with each passing second, all her dreams hanging in the balance. Jake stole a glance at her, and in that moment, a silent pact formed. Whatever the outcome, they were about to embark on a journey that went far beyond the stage. Without further ado, the winner of tonight's trumpet duel is Clara. Held her breath, the world narrowing down to the end of his sentence. The weight of what lay ahead hung heavy in the air, and suddenly, nothing felt certain. Would they go their separate ways or step into an unexpected future together? As the announcer continued toward the decision, the gasp from the audience echoed her own thoughts. She felt a pulse of excitement, dread, and a hint of hope all rolled into one. What awaited her on the other side of this moment? The spotlight blazed brighter, illuminating her path, but for the first time, fear was drowned out by anticipation. Clara and Jake were about to discover the real prize at stake. What would it mean for them if winning was no longer the ultimate goal? And suddenly, the world around them faded as the announcement loomed near. The winner of tonight's trumpet duel is Clara Mitchell. The words cut through the thick tension like a knife, and a wave of shock rolled over Clara. Her heart raced, a mix of disbelief and overwhelming joy as the audience erupted into cheers and applause. She could hardly breathe as bright lights spun around her, illuminating her in what felt like a dream. For a moment, she stood frozen on stage, soaking it all in, her heart swelling like the notes she played just moments ago. Jake's expression was a whirlwind of emotions: pride, admiration, something deeper that he couldn't quite identify. A flicker of disappointment crossed his face, but he quickly masked it with a smile, one that Clara couldn't help but admire. She saw him step forward, his palms raised in a gesture of congratulations as the crowd continued to roar. Clara! You did it! Caleb shouted, his voice almost drowned out by the applause. He rushed past Jake and leapt onto the stage, pulling Clara into a tight embrace. She could feel the warmth of triumph glowing in him, excitement radiating off his skin. Thank you. I can't believe it. Clara finally managed to say when she pulled back, laughter bubbling up as adrenaline surged through her. But even as those words left her lips, a slight worry crept back into her mind. As much as she wanted to celebrate, she couldn't help but glance back at Jake, who stood still, rooted to the spot. Hey! She called out, waving him over. Come celebrate with us. He hesitated, stepping out of the shadows of his uncertainty. Slowly, he approached her, his smile returning but feeling more complicated than before. Clara reached out, grabbing his hand. The touch sent a ripple of connection between them. You were incredible up there, Jake, she said, sincere and earnest. You should be one too. I mean that. Thanks, he replied, his voice steady but eyes filled with vulnerability. You deserved it. You played from your soul. Their gaze lingered on each other, unsaid words hovering in the air between them. As the noise of the crowd dimmed in her ears and her heartbeat slowed, Clara felt the gravity of their moment, like the alignment of stars shifting their fates. Come on, guys. We need to celebrate. Caleb interrupted, his voice bursting with energy. He linked arms with both Clara and Jake, leading them off the stage into the riotous crowd that was eager to congratulate the new champion. But as Clara's smile widened, something else tugged at her heart. With every cheer, every way to go. She felt the horizon of what this win meant for her and Jake extending further than she anticipated. The uncertainty loomed large now, casting shadows she couldn't ignore. This triumph, had it truly brought them closer, or had it built a wall around the possibilities of their shared dreams? Outside the entertainment hall, under the clear night sky twinkling with stars, Clara felt the world shift again. "We should go celebrate at the cafe," Caleb proposed, grabbing Clara's arm. "Yes. Let us do it," she replied with forced enthusiasm, needing the distraction from the whirlwind inside her heart. As they walked, leaving the echoes of applause fading behind them, Clara leaned toward Jake. "Hey, can we talk later?" "Yeah, of course," he answered quickly, yet she sensed the weight he carried. In that moment, she understood. This victory held a deeper story, one that might change the landscape of their lives forever. Did they truly know what they wanted? Could their bond withstand the trials of recognition and dreams? The cafe lights gleamed ahead, buzzing with energy, but Clara couldn't shake the feeling that the real battle was only just beginning. How would fame and competition shape their paths, and what sacrifices would they have to make for their connection? The questions flickered like the stars above them, leaving her with an unsettling mix of excitement and fear, right there, on the edge of something meaningful and entirely unknown. The cafe was alive with laughter and music, the sounds a perfect backdrop to the flurry of emotions swirling inside Clara. Stepping inside, she felt like a moth drawn to the bright lights, but that same excitement dimmed with each passing moment. The energy that once filled her with pure joy was now laced with uncertainty. Caleb found a table near the window, pulling Clara and Jake along with him. The moment they sat down, he erupted into stories about the competition, his voice booming and infectious. "Did you see the way your notes soared? Clara, you were on fire." He gestured wildly, causing a couple of nearby customers to glance over with curious smiles. Clara forced a smile, feeling a weight settle in her chest. "Thanks, Caleb." She started, but her words were swallowed by the laughter that erupted from her friend. She couldn't shake the feeling that her triumph was tainted by the unspoken tension with Jake, which loomed heavily between them like a thick fog. Jake seemed lost in thought, his fingers tracing the edge of his drink, eyes distant. Clara glanced at him, yearning to reach out but unsure of how to break through the invisible wall. "Hey," she said softly, leaning in, "what did you think about tonight?" He looked up, surprise flickering in his gaze. "You really want to know?" he replied, and the tone was guarded, like a fortress built to keep her at bay. "Yes," she replied, taking a breath. She needed to erase this uncertainty, to bring their friendship back to where they had always felt a spark. Jake hesitated, his thoughts tangled. "You were amazing," he finally said, his sincerity coming through even though his smile didn't reach his eyes. "But it was hard for me. I guess I thought we were going to compete against each other as equals," and now his voice trailed off, as if saying too much might crack open a dam holding back feelings he couldn't name. Clara's heart sank. Did Jake see her victory as a personal loss? Was this win really pushing them apart? She forced herself to meet his gaze, looking for the depth she knew was there. "Jake, I never wanted to overshadow you. We both worked so hard. You're talented, and we both know that," he interjected, frustration lining his voice. "But there's more at stake now. It's not just about music anymore. People will have expectations for you, for both of us. It changes everything." Caleb, oblivious to the charged atmosphere, snatched Clara's attention again. "Let us take a picture. Clara, you need to post this moment on social media, celebrate the win," he exclaimed, pulling out his phone. Jake's expression darkened. "Is it really about that? About likes and followers now?" The challenge in his voice made Clara feel defensive. Caleb waved his phone like a wand, calling for smiles. Come on, you two. It's a moment worth capturing. His exuberance broke through, forcing Clara to smile, but she knew this was merely a distraction from a much deeper conversation. The click of the camera echoed. Let us get another. This time, serious faces. Caleb giggled, snapping again. Holding her breath, Clara caught Jake's eye. Maybe this moment could be a bridge. She took a swift step toward him, leaning closer. Jake, I know things are changing so fast, but we don't have to lose what we have. Just because I won doesn't mean we can't suddenly. The cafe doors swung open, and a chill gust blew through. A stranger stepped in, wearing a coat that looked more wealthy than anything Clara had seen, and when they made eye contact, she felt a strange pulling sensation. He scanned the room like he was looking for someone. Do you feel that? Clara whispered to Jake, her heart racing. Feel what? He replied, confusion in his voice as he turned to see the newcomer. Before she could answer, the stranger locked eyes with her, a smile creeping onto his face as he moved through the crowd. Clara's eyes widened. What was this? Who was he? Hey, sorry. Clara felt her stomach twist as she prepared to brace herself against whatever this unexpected meeting might set into motion. Jake's expression shifted, and suddenly, the air was thick with complexity. Do you know him? He asked, tension evident in his voice. No, but a wave of apprehension washed over her. Whatever this stranger wanted, she could feel it was about to turn the tide of everything they had just begun to figure out. As the stranger closed in, Clara's heart pounded in her chest. What did this mean for her and Jake, and what would it change between them moving forward? And then, without warning, she knew their lives were about to shift again, in a direction they never anticipated. The stranger approached with an effortless confidence, his tailored coat gliding against his frame like silk, and Clara felt her cheeks flush instinctively. Jake's pose tightened, his body language screaming protectiveness as he instinctively leaned closer to Clara. Excuse me, the stranger said, his voice smooth and rich like fine wine. I was hoping to speak with you, Clara. His eyes sparkled with a knowing glint that sent a shiver down Clara's spine, a mix of curiosity and apprehension swirling within. How do you know my name? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The cafe noise faded, leaving just the thudding of her heart. I've heard about your performance tonight, he replied, a smirk forming at the corners of his mouth. You were stunning. Caleb nudged Clara with an excited grin. See? A fan already. But something in Jake's stance told her he wasn't so easily convinced. Thank you, Clara said, forcing herself to maintain eye contact with the stranger. But who are you exactly? Name's Victor, he said, extending his hand. And I think you have a rare gift, Clara. I want to help you take it to the next level. Help me how? She couldn't ignore the flutter of interest battling with her wariness. Victor leaned closer, his voice low as if sharing a secret. I'm a part of a prestigious music program. We're looking for fresh talent like yours. I believe you could be the centerpiece with your friend Jake, too. Jake's reaction was instantaneous. Clara doesn't need to be part of some program ran by a stranger. The protective tone slithered into his words, layering them with unease. Clara felt the pull between excitement and caution. Why do you need both of us? She asked, intrigued by the prospect but apprehensive about the sudden shift in their dynamics. Victor shifted his gaze, studying Jake with an elusive smile. You both have potential, but together? Imagine what you could create. Think about it like a musical duel. A unique collaboration that can elevate both your careers. A duel? Jake's tone dripped with skepticism. Sounds more like a gimmick. Not a gimmick, Victor shot back, a chance to showcase your skills in a way no one else has. Clara's mind raced with visions of where this could lead. The thrill of possibility danced in her chest, yet she was keenly aware of Jake's tension. This was a fork in the road, and she needed to tread carefully. "Well, it sounds incredible," Clara said, her resolve firm. "But I need to think about it. It's a big decision." Victor nodded, seemingly pleased. "Of course. Just know that I'm serious about this opportunity. It's not every day that you get a chance to shine." His look lingered on her for a moment before he turned towards the door. "But I will be in touch." As he left, the air shifted once more. Clara turned to Jake, searching for clarity in his expression, but all she saw was confusion veiled in uncertainty. "I don't like how he spoke to you," Jake muttered, almost to himself. "Maybe he's right, Jake. It could be what we need." Her voice trailed off as the weight of her words settled in. A tension filled the space between them, the unsaid words thickening the air. What if the pressure changes us? What if we lose what we already have? Jake's voice cracked, revealing a vulnerability she hadn't seen before. Clara felt trapped, the stakes rising as she wrestled with her next move. They had come so far together, but was she willing to risk their friendship for an uncertain future? "Let us just take our time to figure this out," she finally said, though doubt seeped into her voice. "Will that be enough?" Jake replied, his brow furrowing. The mystery of Victor's arrival left them at an impasse. The music of the cafe faded into a dull murmur as Clara realized they were standing at a crossroads. A decision loomed over them, heavy and unnerving. And just like that, her heart teetered on the edge. What was she willing to sacrifice for greatness, and at what cost would it come? The next step was unclear, and as uncertainty hung in the air, Clara felt the inevitable unraveling approaching fast. But would she courageously seize the moment, or watch everything they built slip through her fingers? Clara spent the next few days in a whirlwind of emotions, the wavering truth hanging over her like a storm cloud. Each time she picked up her trumpet, a flood of thoughts crashed over her. Should she even consider Victor's offer? Could she risk her bond with Jake for an opportunity that could change everything? The moment Victor had left the cafe replayed in her mind. His invitation was seductive, but part of her remained skeptical. A duel? Was it really a platform for their talents, or just another way for someone to use them? She glanced at Jake from across the room during practice, his brow often knitted in concentration. She could sense his concern, mirrored in the way he handled his own trumpet. It was like they were two ships passing each other, one anchored safely in familiar waters while the other dared to venture into uncharted territory. Jake's fingers brushed the trumpet's keys with precision, but the music lacked the usual spark. Clara found herself missing the way their melodies intertwined, how they lifted each other during performances. The air was thick with a silence that was once filled with laughter and shared dreams. "Hey, how about we try playing that duet we wrote last month?" Clara suggested one evening, hoping to spark a connection that had dimmed. Jake hesitated, his foot tapping nervously against the wooden floor. "You mean the one we composed just for fun?" His voice was cautious, yet Clara noticed a hint of nostalgia. "Yeah, just for fun," she echoed, trying to keep her tone light. "It's been too long since we played it together." Finally, he nodded, and as they began, the first notes floated tentatively into the air. Clara felt a flicker of the old magic, but it quickly waned as Jake's face tightened with an unspoken fear. She pursed her lips, struggling to match her rhythm with his, the music turning a little discordant. "Clara, do you really think we should even entertain Victor's idea?" he finally asked, stopping mid-phrase. Clara took a deep breath, clutching her trumpet tightly. "I don't know, Jake. It could be our chance to actually get noticed." He shook his head, a mixture of frustration and sadness etched across his features. "What if it takes us down a path we don't want to follow? What if it changes us? I can't lose what we have." "Maybe we're not going to lose it," Clara said gently. "Maybe we'll grow together." "But that's just it," he countered, voice rising slightly. "I don't have the same trust in Victor that you do. He feels off." Clara sighed. It wasn't just about Victor. It was about the fear of risking their friendship, of losing the bond they had cultivated through years of practice and shared dreams. But was it fear that was holding them back, or the possible greatness that loomed ahead? "I just want to play for people who appreciate our music," Clara admitted, her heart aching with a desire that seemed impossible to articulate. Jake ran a hand through his hair, frustration mingling with helplessness. "Then let us do that together. Not in some competition." The word stung. She sensed his resolve, but it felt like a breed of defiance. And just like that, she realized what was at stake. Her biggest fear wasn't he failing but being stuck in mediocrity. A choice was looming over her, smothering her excitement like a wet blanket. Yet the thrill of what Victor promised was irresistible. The rest of the evening passed in silence, the weight of their separate thoughts grinding against the fleeting moments of joy. Finally, Clara stood up. "Maybe we just need some time apart to think." Jake's eyes widened in disbelief. "Is that really what you want?" She hesitated, torn between two worlds. "I don't know, I just need to figure out who I am without the shadows of what we've built." With those words, she walked away, leaving Jake staring after her, confusion shadowing his features. In that moment, Clara realized something important. Choices weren't merely about what path to take, but about what ones they were willing to leave behind. She was on the edge of a monumental choice, and with fear bubbling in her chest, she emerged determined. But would she choose her dreams or pull back into the safety of friendship? The uncertainty lingered, a quiet predilection for change hanging in the air like the last note of a song. Tomorrow would be a different day, but would it hold clarity, or simply more questions? Clara woke the next morning feeling as if she were trapped within a fog. The sunlight streamed through her window, illuminating the dust particles floating in the air, yet everything felt distant. She couldn't shake the conversation with Jake from her mind. Each word echoed in her thoughts, mixing with the melodies they used to play together. She picked up her trumpet, the cold brass cool against her lips. It felt heavy with expectation. What will it be today? She wondered, playing a few scales. The notes climbed and fell, but the music felt hollow, lacking the vitality of their shared performances. Was she really willing to risk everything for a chance to step into Victor's spotlight? Clara strummed through scales, hoping the music would unravel the conflict within her. The closer she got to clarity, the more tangled her thoughts became. For every note soaked in ambition, another held memories of her friendship with Jake. As she played, she felt him there, standing at her side, vulnerable yet steadfast. Deciding to distract herself, she wandered to a nearby cafe. Maybe she could sit with a cup of coffee and people watch. Clara settled in, taking in the sounds of laughter and animated conversations. In this bustling world, her heart still ached for something more. The thought of living life in a safe bubble felt unbearable. As she sipped her coffee, her phone buzzed. It was a text from Victor, an invitation to meet later that day. The thrill of opportunity surged within her once more, tangled with trepidation. Clara hesitated but finally decided to respond. She could at least hear him out, right? Later that afternoon, Clara arrived at the trendy lounge he had chosen. The atmosphere was electric, the chatter blending with a live band setting the tone for the evening. Victor spotted her right away, his grin wide. He approached, confidence radiating from him. "Glad you could make it," he boomed, excitement in his voice. "Trust me, you'll want to hear what I have in store." Clara followed him inside, her heart racing as curiosity wrestled with doubt. They sat down, and he quickly explained his vision for the duel: a stage filled with energy, audiences eager to cheer, and a chance for them to showcase their talent. "It'll be unlike anything you've ever experienced. Just think, Clara, this could be your launch pad." His eyes sparkled with ambition, making it hard to resist his enthusiasm. But the more he talked, the more a knot formed in her stomach. Was it really about the music? Or was it about Victor's need for validation? What happens if it doesn't go as planned? Clara asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Victor dismissed her concerns casually, leaning back in his chair. "You're an incredible musician. Just look at it as a stepping stone. And with me by your side," he added, "you'll shine like never before." Flashes of the last performance with Jake cut through her thoughts. His earnest eyes staring back at her, full of hope and the trust they had built over time. "Victor, I need to think about this," she said, standing a little taller as determination surfaced. "Don't think too long," he replied, his tone shifting. "These opportunities don't wait forever." As she turned to leave the cafe, Clara knew the choice wouldn't be easy. The weight of destiny pressed down, splitting her heart in two. There was so much to consider: her dreams, her friendship with Jake, and the parts of herself she was still uncovering. Outside, the night air was cool against her skin, filled with the sounds of crickets and the rush of nighttime traffic. But in her heart, a storm raged. Clara's steps quickened as she made her way back home, the city lights glimmering like uncertain stars above her. What if she wanted both? To chase her ambition and hold on to what she shared with Jake. But could she balance them without losing either? Tomorrow was coming fast, and with it, the time to make a choice. Should she pursue her dreams or protect the friendship that had shaped her? The thought felt heavier than the trumpet in her hand. As she crossed the threshold into her home, a thought turned in her mind: a duel was not just a competition, it was a test of everything she held dear. Would she walk into the unknown, or would she stay anchored to who she'd been? With a trembling breath, she picked up her trumpet again, longing to find the sound that could lead her to an answer. Clara sat on her bed, trumpet resting on her knee, a tangle of emotions swirling inside her like a live wire. The brass instrument felt less like a tool of creation and more like a heavy burden weighing her down. She closed her eyes, desperate to hear the melodies she and Jake once conjured together, but all she found was silence. The events from the cafe replayed in her mind: Victor and his promises. A launch pad, he'd said, as if ambitions could simply be grabbed and held. But at what cost? Her relationship with Jake floated at the forefront, the bond they shared like a finely spun web of trust and shared dreams. Could she risk snapping it for the shine of fame? She stood up abruptly, the decision pressing like an iron weight against her chest. It was maddening to think she had to choose. Music had always been a part of her soul, a language she spoke fluently with both Jake and her trumpet. Determined to break the fog of uncertainty, Clara turned to the window, letting the cool breeze wash over her face. Each breeze felt like a whisper nudging her forward, urging her to remember why she loved to play. But the thought of facing Jake and Victor left her limbs heavy and uncertain. There was only one way to find clarity: she needed to speak to Jake. He would understand her conflicted emotions better than anyone else. That bond forged through years of playing together was still alive beneath the surface. Would talking do more than ease her mind? Would it strengthen her resolve to chase her dreams while keeping the friendship intact? With newfound determination, she grabbed her keys and left her apartment, holding her trumpet tightly against her side. The cool air greeted her as she stepped outside, the sounds of the city humming with life. Each step to Jake's place felt both exhilarating and terrifying. The moment felt monumental, a crossroads where the outcome was uncertain yet fateful. As she jogged down the streets, Clara's mind raced. What would she say? Would he still be open to the idea of collaboration, or had Victor's allure cast a shadow over their connection? The thought made her heart ache, and she quickened her pace, her mind teetering on the edge of hope and despair. When she finally reached Jake's building, Clara hesitated at the door, her hand hovering over the buzzer. The weight of silence lay between them, a space filled with reluctance and unspoken feelings. Her heart pounded. Would he welcome her in, or would he push her away? Taking a deep breath, she pressed the button, her pulse hammering in her ears. It was like stepping into a drum solo, each moment echoing with anticipation. Finally, the familiar voice crackled through the speaker. "Clara?" It was soft, almost incredulous. "Hey, Jake. Can I come up?" Her heart raced as she waited for his response. After a brief pause, the door clicked open, and Clara climbed the stairs, dread and exhilaration mixing inside her. When she reached his apartment, the door swung open to reveal Jake in a comfortable t-shirt, his guitar slung over his shoulder. He looked surprised, but that surprise melted into a welcoming smile. "Clara, it's good to see you," he said, stepping aside so she could enter. "Thanks for letting me come by," she replied, her voice trembling slightly. As she crossed the threshold, the weight of her ambitions and loyalties began to battle within her anew. But she couldn't stand on that edge forever. "Can we talk?" she asked, turning to face him, a surge of courage igniting in her chest. "I'd love to," he said, his eyes easy but searching, sensing that something deeper was at play. And in that moment, Clara took a step into the unknown, ready to explore the complexities of friendship and dreams intertwined, hoping to weave her desires into a melody they could both understand. But as the door closed behind her, the question lingered in the air: was it possible to reclaim their past without losing sight of their futures? The room was filled with the familiar scent of aged wood and damp coffee, the remnants of past jam sessions echoing in the corners. Jake leaned against the wall, arms crossed, his expression a mixture of curiosity and caution. Clara felt the weight of her decisions pressing heavily on her shoulders, yet she was here, ready to find their common ground. "Clara, I'm glad you came," he said softly, but the way he shifted his weight suggested uncertainty lingered in the space between them. She could sense his ambivalence, like he was ready to catch her if she fell but wary of where she was headed. "I've been thinking," she began, the words rolling off her tongue with each beat of her heart. "About Victor's offer and about us." Jake's brow furrowed. "You know how I feel about him. What he's proposing feels shallow to me. It's using what we love for a bigger spotlight, but will it really matter?" "I don't know," Clara confessed, resting her trumpet against the couch. "But what if it could also be a chance for us to share our music on a larger scale? A way for both of us to be heard?" His eyes narrowed, searching for truth in hers. "But at what cost? I mean, you saw how our music changed tonight. The connection, the depth, we can't risk that, Clara." Taking a steadying breath, she stepped closer. "It means everything to me too. That's why I came here. I don't want to lose what we have. I'm terrified that by chasing this dream, I might push you away. But I'm also scared of turning my back on something that could be incredible." Jake's eyes softened slightly, as vulnerability seeped through. "I know talent can spring from not just shining moments but from the pain and struggles we face. But I don't want you to forget where it came from. I want to," she asserted, her voice stronger now. "I'd carry our memories with me, wherever this might lead. Our town, our struggles, it's part of my essence. And it's in every note I play." Jake took a step forward, studying her with a new intensity. "So what, you want me to join you? Risk it all with Victor and let our music get tangled with whatever this is?" The thought hung between them like a ripe fruit, ready to be plucked. "Yes. Together, we can redefine what that looks like. We don't have to take everything at face value. We can use our friendship to anchor us, to stay true to each other even as we strive for more." Silence filled the room, stretching like a taut string plucked on a guitar. Clara dared to look away, uncertainty blooming in her chest. But then, Jake let a smile break through, one filled with warmth and understanding. "You really believe that, don't you?" Clara nodded, feeling a rush of courage intertwine with her heartbeat. "I do. And I believe our music can resonate beyond this town. We could create a sound that honors both of us." "Fine," Jake said, his tone shifting playfully. "But only if we promise to stay grounded. If it ever feels too shiny or rehearsed, we walk away. Deal?" "Deal." Clara laughed, feeling the connection reigniting. They stood there, the tension dissipating as relief washed over both of them. They were no longer just Clara and Jake, few small-town dreamers. They were a duo, stepping into the unknown with grounded intentions and a shared love for music.
Let us finish that duet. She exclaimed suddenly, her fingers itching to reach for her trumpet. Now? He asked, a hint of surprise coloring his voice. Yes. This is the moment. I want to feel the collaboration of our stories. Clara said, her voice bubbling with energy. A new resolve shone in Jake's eyes. Okay, let us do it. Together. As they picked up their instruments, the notes flowed freely, blending their hopes and dreams. Each melody spoke of resilience, a harmonious dialogue that twisted around their shared fears and aspirations. Clara played with fire, while Jake's chords anchored her voice, and the sound echoed through the apartment like laughter from a deeper connection. With every note, the air crackled with possibility. The world faded away, leaving just the music and the lightness of their bond. They were crafting something beautiful, rooted in respect and trust. They weren't just chasing fame, they were crafting a legacy. As the last note cut through the air, Clara looked at Jake, her heart bursting. Are you ready for this journey, no matter where it leads? Absolutely, he replied, a grin spreading wide across his face. And with that, they stood together at the crossroads, hands clasped, a duet ready for whatever lay ahead. Their story was just beginning, bound not by competition but by friendship, fires lit in their hearts for all to hear. As they left his apartment, the night felt alive with potential, their footsteps echoing with each passing moment. They were no longer just two musicians from a small town, they were now a catalyst for transformation, ready to pour their souls into the world and let it resonate like it always should. And just like that, the stage was set not merely for a performance but for a future filled with friendship, dreams, and powerfully shared melodies, resonating in the heart of the world. And now, dear viewers, this is your moment to take action. Subscribe immediately to not miss the next exclusive stories that could transform your own life. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm so we can keep bringing you amazing tales. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this ending, we want to hear your thoughts. And don't wait, share instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this incredible transformation unfold. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting our community through these actions.